Woke activist trash Warner Brothers games are starting to understand what it means to go woke and to go broke. And it's beautiful.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we get to see how a disaster has unfolded across 2024. Warner Brothers games know that 2024 has been bad. The CEO, David Zaslav, even said they recognize the game business is substantially underperforming. That's what he said in their recent earnings call, but it's
Oh wow, for something this big to actually admit wrongdoing is crazy. That's already a crazy start, honestly.
not just Suicide Squad. Far from it, actually. Today we'll dive into their financial losses and basically
Suicide Squad probably is the funniest disaster that they have, but man, they have a whole bag of tricks when it comes to disasters, honestly.
how in pursuing live services, they truly have screwed themselves. And if you think Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was the only disaster of that scale, it very much looks like there's another one on the horizon. First up then, the earnings call. So it had them own up to their game division's underperformance, and this time the biggest blow was Multiversus. Now it's a strange game. It was shut down, then it was relaunched, and now they've declared another $100 million plus impairments, mostly attributed to Multiversus, which means they absolutely expected that game to hit stronger and to make more money than it did. And when they say impairments in this context, that's basically them declaring that an asset has decreased in its value. And they even highlight that this brings their total write-downs to a lovely $300 million this year. That is the cost of making an
To be fair, Disney is what? 80 billion in debt or something like that? Warner Brothers probably is also something like that in debt. Because let's face it, all of their movies suck, all of their games are stupid, and they themselves cannot get a single win, no matter how much in front of their face it's placed. Yeah, well, technically, except the Penguin, but again, one hole in one is not gonna actually save them at this point. Oh no, they are probably also multiple billions in debt with their shitty decision makings, with their woke propaganda, with their subjugation of the themselves to the cause of DUI and inclusivity, and all of the things that literally no sane person wants. And if you do want that, I think your place is in the loony bin, you piece of shit. In any case, yeah, they're probably also multiple billions in debt. And when, well, you're in a situation where you are that highly in debt, you know, more in debt than than the GDP of a couple of countries in the world, well then, uh, what's another 300 million to the pile, okay? Especially when your mindset is, oh, we used to be so big and popular, we just need one hit to happen and we can turn it around. Hey, if that's your way of thinking, what does it matter? 300, 500, a billion, or another 2 billion added to the pile? You're gonna make it out anyway.
entire Spider-Man 2, or like two normal AAA games. And the other 200 million was in large part thanks to
Oh yeah, Spider-Man 2 also flopped. I forgot about that.
Suicide Squad. Looking into the immediate future, though, they don't actually see Q4 as being that
Hogwarts was a win, but again, that's not gonna save them.
bad, but it's definitely not for a good reason. They highlighted that last Q4 they released Hogwarts Legacy on the Switch, and this year they actually expect flat or slightly better year-on-year performance.
Okay, let's actually see what's happening with Warner Brothers. This is the game list. Let me just switch the thing up here a little bit, so you can also see the list. Okay, let's go. So what do we have here? Things that are actually already announced and tight, working already a thing that's happening currently. Let's see. We have Multiversus, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, huge flop. Expansion for this, another expansion for this. Batman Arkham Asylum, that was 2003. This was probably a hit. Wait, this is kind of a shitty list. Hogwarts Legacies was a hit. Arkham Knight was probably a hit. Arkham City, no idea. Mortal Kombat Onslaught Mod. What kind of list this is? This is not even close to full. This is just a bunch of overlapping crap. Wow. Well, Multiverses was an absolute disaster. Jesus Christ, how did they think this is gonna ever make money? uh, also Harry Potter. Wait, is this a real thing? Jesus, no one wants Quidditch. It sucks. Well, in any case, it's not looking good. It's not looking good, Bubbaloo.
But because they've lowered their costs, not actually because they're selling more games. And that is a big problem, because Multiversus and Quidditch Champions, those are live service games. Obviously, Suicide Squad failed, so they're not going to be counting in revenue.
Dude,
but this show,
they ruined Multiversus so hard. They uglified the characters for no reason. They made it harder to. They completely ruined all the chances they had. And for what? Nothing. Nothing. Literally just some woke ideologies of, oh, you can't have hot-looking characters.
That those two games are really not doing what they were supposed to do for the company's finances. And compared to most, Multiversus has had a bloody strange life, and it's in a dire position. So Multiversus is essentially Smash Bros, but with Warner Bros properties, and it's a simple premise. It's the debut title from Player First Games. They formed in 2019. Basically, it seems to make this game. And looking through the game credits, you can see that up to 2022, there were 58 people from that company working on the game, plus, of course, loads of Warner Bros people covering like QA, admin, accounting, all of that stuff, as well as some partner studios. So sizable enough, but absolutely not gargantuan. And looking at them in LinkedIn right now, we do see 11 to 50 employees. I'd say it's almost certainly at the higher end of that, but the point basically is this is not a super big expensive game. And in a way, that was almost their problem. You see, compared to most, this has had an absolutely wild ride. So the early access launched late July 2022 with 153.
Oh yeah, we talked about this. Man, they just screwed the pooch here so bad.
K concurrence in Steam, and that is just on Steam. This is of course a multi-platform game. Now, by late August, the peak daily players had fallen to 25k, but that is not an entirely unexpected thing. Most games do not retain their launch peak. It's generally how many people do you retain, and then from that basis, how do you slowly grow over time? That is the kind of live service playbook. So that didn't mean they were immediately doomed. August actually saw them hit 10 million players, and just a month later, they had surpassed 20 million players, but on Steam had dipped below 10k concurrence. The drop-off was becoming concerning, but what was actually quite surprising to most is just how quickly it would plummet after that. Just 2 months later, November 2022, it was consistently below 3k in Steam, and by early 23, that number had halved. Weekly peak players fell to below 1,000 by March, and soon cratered to well under 100 players. And that's because WB Games announced that the open beta would end the following June, and the game would return in 2024. So obviously people decided, I'm not going to bother sticking around for the last 3 months. This was of course not a planned thing, because when the beta launched,
makes sense. People don't like sticking around for things that are already dead and whatnot.
They said it would be there to stay. So it's easy to see what happened here. Player numbers were plummeting. They essentially ran out of steam. And when we looked through how that happened, sort of play by play, month by month, player interest dwindled as the cadence of new characters and maps slowed down. The seasons didn't retain people, and the challenge they had is they were a small team with a game that was absolutely just beyond critical mass in its initial success. And that meant that they had loads of bugs to fix, loads of balance issues, and even to this day there still are bugs, there still are balance issues. This type of game is very hard to get right. Nintendo are the absolute pros, and Nintendo are the people who this audience would be comparing the game to, so the bar was extremely high. And essentially with them continually having to triage, to fix balance, to fix bugs, they weren't able to keep up with the content cadence, and the player base pretty much just melted away. And it all happened in a way that left a bad taste in people's mouths, because people have bought Founders Pack.
No shit! Make bad game, don't fix it. Oh, people are unhappy? Well, shit, who would have expected that, Billy? Huh? Like, what a conclusion. Holy! By the way, I love this about Bellier's videos. He says some stuff that happens, and it's very fucking obvious what is gonna be the reaction from those things happening, and he's like, and then people were not happy. No shit, 10 out of 10.
Packs. People had bought in-game currency, and the message essentially was, well, thanks for buying that stuff. You'll be able to access it again when it's the full release of the game. So it is abundantly clear that the fundamentals of Multiversus needed to be reworked. And
also, I'm not gonna lie, that is a thing that actually happened, and, you know, obviously some people got pissed because of that. But the reality is, it's just a shit game, and that's why people did not come back to it, because then they had to pay, blah, 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 all of that stuff. And all of the damage that they done with the updates, okay? Bellier literally will never touch the word Vogue in his life. It's just not a thing that exists in the gaming sphere. But the reality is, Warner Brothers completely Vogueified the shit out of this game as much as possible to a very, very obscene level. They made all the characters look worse. They made all the portraits look poorer. It doesn't look like something that should have cost more than $500 to make, honestly. That is the reality of Multiversus.
yes, that means they had to ensure people got characters and maps. They said as much in their shutdown post. But we also all know that the line must go up. Not the player line, the money.
Holy shit, Stripe, that is legit.
Line, that's the one that WB Games cares about. This game either could not generate the
He
revenue.
even has a skateboard, gun, and he's throwing saws. That is amazing.
Per user that they wanted, or proved that its total audience would end up being smaller than anticipated, meaning they needed more revenue per user. All of that pointed towards also updating the business model for the game. And 2024's full release absolutely proves that. And by the way, now that you're here, if you'd like more in this channel, honestly.
Also, Gremlin rules. Don't feed them past midnight. When the fuck is it not past midnight, though? When are you supposed to feed them? When is it not past midnight? I'm so confused.
Honestly, just do me a favor, click the subscribe button. The reason why I say that is it gives the algorithm a positive signal. That helps our videos get out there. You guys have been great the last few days on that. And what that does...
Actually, the subscribe button doesn't do that much. But, you know, subscribe anyway.
Is it? I mean, gets our videos out to more people. That means more revenue. That means you can invest back in the team. And this virtuous happy cycle gets to continue. So it would help me out a lot. It's just a few seconds. And with that said, let's talk about Multiversus V2. Because, oh my god, it's quite something. To put it simply, they went way deeper into free-to-play in a way that would very much remind people of mobile games. And there's so many aspects here, but I'll just...
Oh, yeah. Again, I'm talking about the uglification of characters and whatnot. But the reality also is, the fact was that if you played this for in a free-to-play style, yeah, congratulations. You're literally playing Shaggy for 3 weeks straight until you get to unlock another character that maybe you don't actually even like. Great stuff.
Do a few. One example is characters. There's a free rotation of characters, and if you want characters, you either grind up currency or you basically pay up. Now, in the
whoa, what is this? Velma, and she's not a black Indian or something? Bro, what do you mean? Next thing you're gonna tell me this is not a lesbian Velma. Admittedly, they definitely tried to make her kind of blackish. They probably didn't want to make her full-on fucking Indian black or whatever Velma is nowadays. I should know because I watched the series. And I'm hoping for the next season. Season 3 would be marvelous.
Grind up currency or you basically pay up. Now in the beta, the character unlocks that were paid did not apply to offline play. And that meant that if you were doing a local tournament, well, that was fine. Obviously that's not the case now. So if you want to do a local tournament, you are going to have to buy all of the characters to basically have the tournament.
It's not what even Velma ever did calculator or fucking use a calculator. What the fuck?
And this is something that's rough for the fighting games community. A lot of that is so goddamn grassroots. Small tournaments, like clubs, small events. So the way that this monetization worked with just IRL tournaments, that was really rough. But there is more stuff, like rifts. Rifts are basically the solo PvE mode, and they want you to grind those really bad. So whenever you're grinding through those, you'll get gems, and the gems are
Look at this, by the way. This game also has audio stock, which they made ugly. Listen, the only reason why anyone ever liked Arya Stark is because they're a PDF file, okay? Listen, that was the point of Arya Stark. In the fucking show, in this game, and they messed that part up, okay? Shit. Yeah. Hey, you can fight me all you want on this, but every single person who likes Arya Stark it is a fucking blatant doctor disrespect, okay? It is what it is. You can't convince me otherwise. Fuck you.
Really bad. So whenever you're grinding through those, you'll get gems, and the gems are gacha style power-ups. If you get dupes, then it goes into like XP or whatever for the gem. There are free and paid ways to get more gem XP, and you can straight up buy progression on the store. If you want to defeat the harder rifts, well, you'll probably need good gems. And also, there are limited lives a day, and you could purchase.
Oh, this absolute atrocity of garbage. What is this called? Star and Ruby? Something Star. In any case, oh, it's a series about 15 moms being lesbians and some shit like that. It is pathetic. Okay, you can literally see what kind of audience these people try to cultivate, and it's the fucking disgusting. Okay, it's people who should be in mental institutes, not actually playing video games, or in this situation, most likely trying to ruin video games.
Purchase more. So that's quite bad. And what really shows how much this is a game in flux, where they haven't quite worked out their model yet, is unlocking characters. They had one currency for that in beta, then they launched with another currency, and now it's being replaced with an entire new system that is called Fighter Road, where rather than directly earn currency, you now progress through a track. And that means you're earning a new type of XP as well, Fighter XP. And that just means that this is a game that's chopping and changing. They still haven't quite figured out how all of these systems should work. And more broadly, since release, they've had to backtrack in some things. They've grappled with loads of bugs, balance problems. They've
liking Raven, though, legit. Okay, we're excluding that.
Had to think a lot about quality of life. And the bit that's sad is that beneath all of that, this is a fantastic platform fighter. There are a few designs that are truly inspired, and when all's going right, it plays remarkably well. But the struggle is, it's a small team, and keeping players around has proven challenging here. The other side to this then is that in the background, WB Games actually acquired the studio. We found out about this in July, but obviously that deal would have been in progress long before that. And of course, with Multiversus seeming to have a strong second launch, numbers, projections must have looked good when that deal was being made. But those numbers would not last, and that certainly holds true for their entire games library. Okay, Quidditch Champions, Multiversus, and Suicide Squad. Let's check in on how these games are doing. First, these are all multi-platform games, right? So,
dude, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League still needs to have one more trans expansion. Okay, we had trans Mr. Freeze. We have Deadshot's daughter, which is the most unrealistic thing ever. That, you know, considering he's a black man and, you know, he has a daughter and he cares. Man, be a little bit more on realistic, okay? There's a reason we have this 20% to 30% statistic out there about families. Listen, and what is the third one? I forgot. I don't remember. We're on the third one. Oh, right. Twink Joker. Twink Joker was the first one. Oh, boy. And now we're going to have a fourth one. It's probably going to be female trans Batman. That's where my money is on. It is great.
So take Steam as an indicator of trends, but not as an absolute number. The absolute numbers will be substantially higher because of other platforms. Anyway, Multiversus launched to 114k concurrents, but within weeks, the monthly peaks were down to 5k. After that,
yeah, the graph was absolutely devastating. I used it for a thumbnail.
They were hovering between 3k and 2k, but now they have fallen below 2k. That is fairly rough. Now, the performance is not dissimilar to the beta, though I do imagine the revenue per user is higher. But again, this is grim. Warner Bros. Did attribute being down 100 million to the weak performance of this game, and that means their projections of the redesigned business model and the new launch must have been wildly above reality. Now the game is entering its 4th season, and based on how the beta ended, where the numbers just got so low that they pulled the plug, I really am concerned for the future of that game, which, to be clear, would be a
I ain't. Why the hell should I care?
Shame, right? Because Multiversus has the makings of a truly fantastic platform fighter.
Everything has the makings of a good game. Ugh, I'm so tired of this argument. Oh, if we change this, and this, and it's gonna be a great game. Yeah, sure, okay. Then every game can be great. Blah, blah, blah. I hate that argument.
Our next game then is Quidditch Champions, and I certainly hope they did not make projections based on Hogwarts, because if they did, this game will have barely made a dent.
Dude, even Harry Potter fans are literally talking about that. If it's not real life Quidditch, then they do not care. Whew.
It's got a 77% Steam average, which is fairly good, but only 1900 ratings, which is fairly soft, especially for this IP. Beyond Steam, it's got a 66% open critics average, with only 26% of critics recommending, which is fairly low. Basically, the story is...
No one cares, Beryl. It's the critics. The reality is, some Harry Potter fans are probably fucking drooling over this crap, but most people aren't, okay? To be into Quidditch and thinking that that's fun, you need to be the most ludicrously Harry Potter fan ever, okay? You literally need to be a grown-ass fucking adult wearing a wizard's hat to work.
If you want Quidditch, this is where you can get some Quidditch. But it just turns out that not that many people seem to want Quidditch. Now, in terms of player numbers, they went from a long...
Wow. This is actually less than I expected. This is insane.
Peak of 6,500 to weekly peaks of under 500. Now, there is one of those things in the industry and in commentary where we can obsess over player concurrency numbers. And I get that. And in a game like, say, Veilguard, or like a single-player game, or even a regular multiplayer game that wasn't a big live service, I wouldn't really care about them as much. But here, these are live games. They actually do need to have consistent play to earn their money back, to make seasonal events and things.
The 3 shillings have been put in your account for doing a slight hinge at, oh, the drop-off in Dragon Age Veilguard player base is not a big deal because it's a single-player game. Deposit it to your bank account. Thank you.
Things actually be worth it. So that's why these lower numbers are kind of concerning. As an example, for Quidditch Champions, it's got seasonal events, new pitches, new characters, cosmetics, and of course, seasons. They're just about to start Season 1, which does have a ranked 6v6 mode, so maybe that can capture interest. We'll just have to wait and see, but either way, it is not going to make a dent for WB Games. Finally then, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. It's currently about 2/3 the size of Quidditch on Steam, but recently it surged. However, not for the right reasons.
Sir, dude, every time Suicide Squad surges, I feel a little bit more warmer inside because it's hilarious.
We can see a mid-September Steam sale.
Dude, it's actually amazing that the 24-hour peak is kind of being around 300. That's insane, honestly.
That took it from the low hundreds to a peak of 500. Then at the start of October, Season 3 launched, and you can see that the Season 3 launch is barely noticeable on the graph, and the most recent spike is because of another 80% off sale. And by the way, 80% off is a lot of percent. For some fun examples, Nintendo basically don't discount their games that much ever, and some of their games they don't run sales on. Factorio just sold its second DLC for $35, and I don't think Factorio has ever done a sale. It just goes to show how the
Yeah, I mean, Factorio is different, okay? It's literally built different.
Market decides what a game is really worth. About that too. Overall, WB Games has 11 studios, and of course the big hitters are Rocksteady, Monolith as well. Monolith made the Lord of the Rings Shadow games, NetherRealm, who make Mortal Kombat.
I'm pretty sure they're pretty fucking dead on that, the Lord of the Rings now.
Avalanche, not the Swedish Avalanche, who made Hogwarts, and TT Games, who are the people who do the Lego games. And in the earnings call, they said their plan is to double down on the big franchises, meaning Mortal Kombat, Game of Thrones, Hogwarts, and...
Oh, Game of Thrones. Does anyone... Dude, there's no way you make Game of Thrones successful under Warner Brothers. It's probably not even gonna have blood. And the moment Game of Thrones became anything else than, well, let's see whose favorite character gets decapitated this fucking time, and the franchise just fell apart instantaneously. Batman is gay, and Mortal Kombat is, I mean, it's a thing that does kind of good-ish, but it's a fighting game, very niche. Hogwarts Legacy did good. There's a Hogwarts Legacy 2 happening. Literally covered that. If you want to know more about it, go ahead. Could have potential. It's probably going to sell well. But this is the problem when something like Warner Brothers actually strikes gold in the form of Hogwarts Legacy. And, well, yeah, that's kind of it. They typically fucking fuck it up. That's what's gonna most likely happen. That is reality. Okay. J.K. Rowling with her don't want trans blah 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 in her games literally kind of fucking saved Hogwarts Legacy. If she didn't exist, I'm pretty sure Warner Brothers would have stuffed so many of these things down our throats. It would have been an absolute shit fest. Okay, I'm very very confident in saying that. But yeah, and in any case, that was Billy News 10 out of 10. Have a nice day. Bye.